As he spoke, the huge Dharma idol condensed by Demingkong and Shi Fengchun gathered together. The two monstrous creatures carried the dark clouds that filled the sky. The thousands of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals standing on the dark clouds kept pressing down. The weapons in their hands emitted fine patterns, as if they were gathered from the laws of the world. If this saber and rod hit his body, no matter how high his cultivation level was, his soul would probably dissipate. However, at such a critical moment, Li Yuanqing slowly closed his eyes and sat cross-legged on the ground, as if he did not sense the huge danger above him at all. "Master, wake up! Why are you asleep at this time?" Bloodvine shouted anxiously at the side, but he could not wake Li Yuanqing up. The two of them naturally would not let go of such a heaven-sent opportunity. Since this human was determined to die, they would give him a quick death to save them the trouble. Demingkong's rod had already been thrown down from the sky and was halfway down. However, at this moment, he suddenly felt the patterns on the rod flicker rapidly.
Demingkong was shocked.
He looked at his rod again. The rod, which was originally very solid, slowly became blurry. However, at this point, they couldn't care less. They could only stake everything on killing this child as soon as possible. Only this could save their lives. If they hesitated here, they would probably die. Although Demingkong had said disdainfully just now, he knew from the battle just now. He was just unwilling to admit that there was actually someone stronger than him in this world, and this person was such a young human kid. This was something that he could not accept no matter what. Go to hell. With this shout, the weapons in their hands rushed towards Li Yuanqing's head. However, at this moment, the dark clouds in the sky suddenly twisted violently, forming two huge vortexes that actually swept their Dharma idols in. A huge suction force came from the vortex. The two of them were actually unable to stabilize their bodies and could only let the rod be sucked in by the two suddenly formed vortexes. The heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals were instantly sucked dry like a joke. Before the two demons could be surprised, they were suddenly forced out of the array formation. Their divine senses were still immersed in the array formation just now, but now, everything had disappeared. The two of them returned to the hall they were in and spat out a mouthful of blood almost at the same time. Demingkong sat on the huge array in disbelief. He could not believe what he had just seen. He hurriedly looked around and saw that the huge flickering array was now dim. There were 3 small holes like black holes in the more important corners. Only now did he finally realize why Li Yuanqing had suddenly moved his subordinates to another place before he attacked. He had actually used this method to find the center of the array. The 3 centers of the array had been found, and the important defensive artifacts had been removed. That was why the array formation was destroyed in an instant. After the dark clouds in the sky dissipated, it became a dusky sky. Bloodvine looked at the scene in front of him in shock. Just now, he had gradually closed his eyes, thinking that he would definitely die this time. But why did he suddenly survive? Moreover, all the parts on his body were intact, as if nothing had happened just now. What had happened? Why am I still alive? Bloodvine looked around in surprise. The scene now was completely different from before. Even the lake they were in was not what they had seen. Just now, in his illusion, this lake was simply wide and bright, like a paradise. However, it was only a muddy slope in reality. Even if one was close to it, they could smell an inexplicable stench. At some point, 3 round array discs appeared in Li Yuanqing's hands. They were pitch black, as if they were made of obsidian. Bloodvine stuck his head up and looked at the little things in Li Yuanqing's hand in confusion. Are these the array discs of the array formation just now? It's these little things that trapped us in that array formation for so long. Li Yuanqing put away the 3 array discs and looked up at the peak of the Dongming Mountain. Without the cover of the dark clouds, the entire Dongming Mountain looked even clearer when nothing could be seen clearly because of the huge fog just now. Let's go and get rid of these 2 fellows. After this, we're done. We can go back and rest early. As Li Yuanqing spoke, he stood up and climbed up Dongming Mountain. Bloodvine followed obediently behind. He looked at Li Yuanqing as if he was looking at an immortal in the sky. It was really unbelievable that there was such a powerful person in this world. On the other hand, after Demingkong and Shi Fengchun failed miserably, they hurriedly gathered together. They could not afford any failure now and had to discuss it quickly. Senior, what should we do now? We have such a huge array, but it was still easily broken by him. Then what methods do we have to resist him? Wouldn't we only be able to kneel down and beg for mercy? Nonsense. Li glared at him angrily. No matter what, we're the great lords of the demon race. How can we easily compromise with the human race? Even if his strength has indeed exceeded my expectations, the two of us still have a chance to defeat him if we join forces. We're not completely helpless. His words were beautiful, but no matter how stupid Shi Fengchun was, he knew the current situation. Li was exhausted when he attacked just now. It was obvious that he was already injured when the two sides fought. However, he still had to pretend to be heroic and fearless, wanting to trap the two of them. Although Shi Fengchun had a plan in his heart, this was not the time to cause internal strife. They had to cooperate more closely. Otherwise, if one side was weak and killed, the other party would not be able to escape even if they wanted to. If they had to blame someone, they could only blame Lord Blackdragon for not making it clear when they first came. The humans here were actually so powerful. They were not at a disadvantage when dealing with the two of them, who were second-grade formation arrangement realm experts. Instead, they wanted to kill the two of them. The two of them were getting closer and closer to the huge aura at the foot of the mountain. If they could not think of a better countermeasure now, they would probably be destroyed here. Shi Fengchun gritted his teeth and asked Li, Senior Da, quickly set up a strategy. How are we going to move? Li took out a small bottle and poured out a pill. Shi Fengchun did not even see the appearance of the pill. He only saw a flickering golden light in front of him. Then, Senior Da had already swallowed the pill. Right now, we can only defend this place. I believe these two halls can be defended for a period of time. However, if the two of us still can't obtain Lord Blackdragon's support, we'll probably be at the end of our rope. Then does it mean that we still have a chance to retreat if we abandon this place now? Run? Li looked at Shi Fengchun coldly. That's the world of the human race outside. Where do you want to run to? Not to mention that you're seriously injured. Even if you go all out, how can you defeat that human kid? Li words were true. The two of them had relied on the support of the array formation and had not been able to defeat Li Yuanqing. If they fled separately now, they would probably be killed by Li Yuanqing. Senior, you're right. How long will it take for Lord Blackdragon to mobilize people? Li said, 6 hours. 6 hours? Shi Fengchun felt bitter. Won't we be turned to ashes by the time Lord Blackdragon sends reinforcements? Sigh, the more at a time like this, the more we can't boost the morale of others and destroy our own prestige. There's a turtle armor formation in the hall. No matter how superb this human faction is, it will take a long time for him to break through. Li suddenly seemed to be confident. He got up and spoke in high spirits. It's just that the turtle armor formation needs someone to control it to unleash its greatest effect. Why don't you guard the front hall, and I'll guard your back here. When the front hall can't hold on anymore, I'll naturally transport you back. We'll gather here. We'll definitely be able to stall for time. Li plan did not seem to have any problems. Now, they could only guard these two halls and wait for reinforcements. However, it was hard to say who should guard the front and the back. There were indeed more mechanisms and array formations in the rear hall, but Li was more familiar with this place. Shi Fengchun thought about the front. It was just a turtle armor formation. If he could not defend it, he would at most run back. At this point, Senior Da would probably not have any other thoughts. All right, I will definitely try my best to guard the front. Senior, wait for my news. At this time, the two of us must be more united. As long as we hold on for 6 hours, this kid will be dead when the reinforcements arrive. All right. As Shi Fengchun spoke, he left the rear hall and headed for the front hall. The two of them set up the operation and gave the clansmen below orders. As long as the demons below saw the whereabouts of the humans, they would stop them and not let anything go wrong. These little demons began to become active after receiving the order. On the way up the mountain, the traces of the demons were everywhere. They waited here for Li Yuanqing and his companion to come up. They had no intention of escaping with their lives. They only wanted to complete the mission ordered by their lord. There was no need for Li Yuanqing to make a move. 8 long vines stretched out from the back of Bloodvine, and he seemed to have turned into an octopus. The 8 vertical and long vines kept sweeping on the path where the 2 of them were climbing. All the little demons that were touched by this companion exploded and died miserably. Although Bloodvine was quite frightened just now, he was still able to deal with these little fellows easily and defeat them. However, these demons were all stunned and had no intention of escaping. After being repelled, they still rushed up in large numbers. The Bloodvines were red from the killing. In the past, Li Yuanqing had never noticed that the bright red color on his body had become even more dazzling after killing so many little demons. It was as if one could smell a strong stench just by looking at the red color. Blood kept spreading out, looking so terrifying. Master, there are too many demons ahead. Our speed is severely hindered. Bloodvine kept sweeping away the demons in front of him as he reported to Li Yuanqing. Although he alone was equivalent to 8 people and constantly waving his hands in front of him, there were too many demons. It was difficult to clean them up in a short period of time. Even though they had tried their best, they were still surrounded by the demons. The situation was not optimistic. If they continued to be delayed like this, the 2 people on the mountain would have already fled without a trace by the time they arrived. That would not be good news. As soon as the Bloodvine finished speaking, he felt a sudden warmth on his back, as if a strange energy had crawled into his back. When this energy entered, the Bloodvine felt that his entire body was filled with power. It was like he had soared into the sky like a god of war. The 8 thick vines behind him also doubled in size. It was as if he had become a huge demon god that stood in the world. The terrifying 8 vines kept sweeping around, taking lives every time they were swung. In the forest, wails could be heard everywhere. Large and small demons were injured and killed. The current situation was miserable. After obtaining Li Yuanqing's support, the Bloodvine became much more agile. His efficiency in killing people increased greatly, and there was no need to say anything about the efficiency of cleaning up. Those who escaped or pounced from behind were casually cleaned up by Li Yuanqing. There was nothing to worry about. The 2 of them were climbing the mountain as if they were walking on flat ground. They were not stopped at all and charged up. These little demons were as fragile as tofu in their hands. When the clouds on the mountain peak gradually dissipated, Li Yuanqing and his companion appeared. The Bloodvine's body flickered with a long bloody light as they looked at the hall in front of him quietly. Master, since these 2 are seriously injured, leave them to me. Let me take them down. As the Bloodvine spoke, he was about to rush forward, completely disregarding the 2 injured demon experts. Wait, what happened, Master? I think we have a guest who wants to leave first. Li Yuanqing did not choose to attack the 2 guard halls at the front and back of the Dongming Mountain. Instead, he circled around the 2 halls and headed for the back of the mountain. Shi Fengchun, who was guarding in front, thought that Li Yuanqing must have seen that his place was well guarded and retreated. Little did he know that Li Yuanqing had gone around to the back. Li Yuanqing and Bloodvine circled around the mountain and arrived at the back of the mountain. There was a very hidden path here. No one usually passed by it, and it was very quiet. However, a figure was hurriedly passing by on this path. His movement technique was very fast, and he had already circled around in just a while. From afar, they could only see a phantom shuttling through the forest. A gentle wind blew, and the leaves rustled. Demingkong looked back at the mountain peak again. After all, Shi Fengchun was a greenhorn. His thoughts were still too immature. He had tricked him into guarding the 2 halls with just a few words. Since this human kid could break the illusion array that they were so proud of so easily, it would be easy for him to break the array formation of the 2 guarding halls. Shi Fengchun could not even understand such a simple logic. He could only blame himself for being too simple-minded and thinking too simply. My good brother, it's all thanks to you that I was able to escape this time. I'll help you burn a few more incense sticks. As Demingkong spoke, he took another step forward. There was nothing to miss here. Lord Black Dragon had tricked them all here and caused such a situation. When he returned, Lord Black Dragon would probably not have the face to criticize them. However, just as he was about to set off, he suddenly felt something tug at his feet. He looked down and saw that a red vine had appeared under his feet. It was right beside his feet. He had not discovered this thing when he arrived just now. At this moment, the red vine suddenly expanded in the wind, turning into a diameter of 0.5 meter, and smashed towards Yuanqing. "Bastard!" Yuanqing shouted, and a pure white rod suddenly appeared in his hand. This rod emitted an incomparably dignified aura. A certain barbaric aura emitted from it, causing one's heart to feel a little unbalanced. The vine was sent flying the moment it came into contact with the rod. In front of Yuanqing's absolute strength, Bloodvine was still far from being capable. Behind a big tree not far ahead, the Bloodvine rubbed his waist and walked out. His face was a little pale. "Good Lord, why did you hit me so hard? You almost broke my waist." The moment Yuanqing saw the Bloodvine, his expression instantly turned ugly. His originally relaxed expression had already disappeared. This fellow was clearly with that human kid just now. Now that this guy had already appeared, the human kid was probably not far from here. His wishful thinking of escaping had probably come to nothing. "Why must you kill us all? Can't you leave a way out for us?" Yuanqing's face turned the color of pig liver. He had never negotiated with a human in his life. Today, in order to survive, he had no choice but to lower his noble head. Li Yuanqing appeared behind the Bloodvine and silently looked at the exhausted Yuanqing. "It's indeed you." Yuanqing took a deep breath. Although his expression was ugly, he still forced a smile. This was the way to welcome guests. "I thought that my concealment method could already deceive the world, but I didn't expect to be defeated by you. Forget it. Since there's such a talent, my death won't be unjust." Yuanqing put on a helpless expression, as if he did not intend to resist at all. The Bloodvine walked in front and asked with a smile, "Senior, what do you mean? Are you planning to surrender just like that? This is a wise choice." Yuanqing looked very calm. "I'm afraid I won't have any chance of survival if I fall into your hands, so I might as well leave it to your hands. I don't have any desires anymore. However, there's something I don't understand. I wonder if you can enlighten me." Although Yuanqing was talking, his hands were not idle. He touched something and secretly held it in his palm. Li Yuanqing was not in a hurry. Hearing his request, he simply let him say it. "Senior, you've lived for many years. Since you still have some attachment, tell me about it. If I can help you answer it, I'll definitely do my best." As Li Yuanqing spoke, he walked forward. In just a short while, he was less than 10 meters away from Yuanqing. He sat down on an old tree root and quietly watched the scenery. Yuanqing lowered his head and stared at Li Yuanqing silently, at the young man who had ruined his reputation. "I don't understand where you came from. Logically speaking, humans shouldn't have your cultivation level in the catacombs. But why can you reach such strength? This doesn't make sense at all." This Li Yuanqing in front of him was so powerful that even he could not figure out why such a person would appear in the catacombs. This matter was too strange. When Yuanqing asked this question, the Bloodvine was also interested and listened carefully. Li Yuanqing glanced at him and replied casually, "There are always corners in the world that you don't know. Although Senior has lived for a long time, you don't like everything in the world as much as the human race. It's just that you're limited to the area under your feet. I'm afraid you can't know the appearance of the outside world." Li Yuanqing's ambiguous answer confused the Bloodvine. However, Yuanqing seemed to have received a certain answer. He nodded slightly and sighed. "As expected of this world, all living beings have their own weaknesses. I thought that I was considered knowledgeable among the demons. I didn't expect to be defeated by a human brat like you. It's really a pity." When Bloodvine saw that the two of them were chatting so happily, he simply sat cross-legged at the side and dozed off. His injuries were quite serious after being hit by Yuanqing just now. His back was aching from the beating, so he took the opportunity to stabilize his injuries. It seems that there's always someone better. This world is so complicated. I really should take a walk in this vast world. Li Yuanqing only smiled at his words and did not answer him directly. Yuanqing then added, "But from the looks of it, I'm afraid I won't have such an opportunity anymore. Little brother, please do it. It's best to be quick." He raised his head and stretched out his arms, looking like he was about to die. It was as if he had really forgotten about the mortal world and planned to die at Li Yuanqing's hands. Li Yuanqing had no intention of attacking. He only looked up at him with a playful expression. After a while, Domingkong felt that he was still alive. He opened his eyes and asked Li Yuanqing, "Young master, what do you mean? Since I'm already prepared, please do it. There's no point in saying anything else. My life is already yours." Li Yuanqing raised his right hand and flipped it. Domingkong felt that his wrist seemed to be tightly locked by some force, and he had no choice but to obey. Li Yuanqing's traction technique had been mastered. It was simply effective to control opponents weaker than him. Domingkong's hand was controlled and flipped over, and a small black ball appeared. At first glance, the small ball looked ordinary, but on closer look, there was something strange about it. Its surface was extremely smooth, like a black hole that sucked all the light in. If one looked closer, they could only see a small vortex that hooked their eyes in. Li Yuanqing gently pinched the small ball out of Domingkong's hand. Domingkong's eyes were filled with shock. He did not know when Li Yuanqing had discovered his actions. "You?" Domingkong was so shocked that he could not speak. Li Yuanqing looked at him mockingly, at this person who was once formidable. "I saw that you were a knowledgeable person among the demons, so I gave you a chance to go back on your word. However, I didn't expect your actions to disappoint me." It was only at this moment that all the masks that had been covering their faces were pulled off. Domingkong looked at Li Yuanqing angrily, his eyes filled with unwillingness. "Human brat, now that I've fallen into your hands, you can kill me or torture me if you want. There's no need to waste your breath." Bloodvine was originally resting with his eyes closed when he heard the commotion. He was attracted over. When he saw that Li Yuanqing had such a small thing in his hand, he understood. "Good Lord, old man, our master gave you such a chance to turn over a new leaf. But not only are you unrepentant, you even plan to plot against my master." Bloodvine walked to Domingkong's side and circled him. "I think you deserve to die." A violent explosion shocked the nervous Shifengchun. He had been waiting here, but he could not hear anything outside. Those people must have left. Just as he was about to lower his guard, such an explosion came from outside, pulling his thoughts back. He had to guard this place tightly and not let his guard down. The explosion just now came from the back of the mountain. Shifengchun thought that the two humans might have circled around here and headed straight for the back mountain. Could it be that they planned to break out from the back? The more he thought about it, the more afraid he became. He thought that the old senior was still the most scheming. He had long thought of guarding the hall at the back to prevent the humans from surrounding them from behind. Shifengchun could not help but feel admiration for Domingkong. As expected of him, he was so steady in his actions. Now, he had saved their lives again. However, at this moment, there was a sudden movement in front of him. Shifengchun hurriedly released his divine sense and observed carefully. The two humans who had disappeared just now had returned for some reason. The two of them were walking up the steps as if they were shopping. Shifengchun turned into a small Dharma idol the height of a person and blocked the top of the steps. "The demon race's forbidden area ahead. You humans, take a step back." His voice was very dignified, echoing between the mountains. Hundreds of thousands of demon troops had suffered heavy casualties, and less than half of them were left. These terrified demons finally gathered on the mountaintop. They surrounded Li Yuanqing and the Bloodvine from afar. No one dared to take a step forward. Shifengchun shouted, and a sound wave swept out towards Li Yuanqing's face. However, this sound wave was like nothing in front of Li Yuanqing. Li Yuanqing did not even move and easily passed through the sound wave attack. He arrived in front of Shifengchun's Dharma idol without any effort. Shifengchun waved his arms, intending to warn Li Yuanqing to retreat again. However, before his attack could land, Li Yuanqing's large hand had already pressed lightly on his Dharma idol's chest. It dissipated simply. In an instant, nothing was left of this powerful Dharma idol. It dissipated with the wind. Shifengchun was shocked and hurriedly activated the defense of the entire array. He was determined to stop Li Yuanqing and the Bloodvine from entering the array at all costs. The entire guard hall suddenly shone with light. An intense pillar of light shot into the sky and shone on Li Yuanqing's face, making him look like a demon god that could destroy the world. This cold face seemed to freeze the atmosphere. Everything was so quiet. Shi Fengchun tried his best to inject all his strength into the array formation. He tried to use this method to shake off the intense fear in his heart. However, fear still followed him tightly. He could not shake it off. He did not know why a single human could give him so much pressure. It had been countless years since he had such an incomparably panicked feeling. Human, I advise you to stay where you are. Otherwise, the two of you will die. A bolt of lightning struck the stone slab in front of Li Yuanqing, shattering a piece of the ground. However, this level of threat could not shake Li Yuanqing at all. Li Yuanqing continued to walk forward firmly. Human, if you take another step forward, I'll attack. His voice trembled as he watched Li Yuanqing walk in step by step until he passed through the barrier effortlessly. Signed in successfully in Dongming Mountain's Hall of Heroes. Reward received. Reward 1. Advanced Weapon Refinement Manual. Reward 2. 100 Vitality Reinforcement Pills. Choose Reward 1. Reward issued. This Vitality Reinforcement Pill was a rather powerful pill. It was very rare in the world. One has never seen it before, though they had heard of it. Under such double temptation, Li Yuanqing hesitated before choosing the Advanced Weapon Refinement Manual. He had eaten too many pills these few days, so the spiritual energy in his body was inevitably a little unstable. Now, he was stabilizing the power in his body, so he did not want to borrow too much external help. He thought that this Advanced Weapon Refinement Manual should be able to bring about a lot of gains. Li Yuanqing was in the middle of the hall called the Hall of Heroes. He looked at the exquisite array formation they had set up and did not hesitate to take the important array discs for himself. Without any effort, these two demon experts died at Li Yuanqing's hands. The demons were still surrounding outside. They still did not know what had happened inside and what fate they were about to face. Until the Bloodvine stood on the mountaintop with Shi Fengchun and Demingkong's heads. The remaining 100,000 demons at the foot of the mountain dispersed. They did not dare to stay here any longer. The two in front of them were true gods of slaughter. Even the two lords had died at their hands. What could they do? Now, this grand crusade could be said to have been completely defeated. There was no room for negotiation. In Ping City, dozens of miles away, everyone was still immersed in the tense atmosphere. Everyone was tense, afraid that the demons would attack at any time. Although the news in the city said that the demons had already lost 2 leaders and the attack would probably be delayed, they did not dare to believe such news casually. It was all hearsay, and they could not be sure if it was true. On the other hand, Qiu Muyun had become more and more proficient in refining weapons after training in the treasure pavilion for a period of time. He was now a slightly famous weapon refinement master. Although he had already moved out of Li Yuanqing's small courtyard and had his own residence, he still went back to visit this benefactor who had helped him many times. However, the previous few times he came, Li Yuanqing was not around. It seemed that Li Yuanqing often went out, and his personality was generally the same. Qiu Muyun had some understanding of Li Yuanqing and knew that he liked to walk around. Therefore, although he returned empty-handed the previous few times, he was not angry and insisted on coming over often. Today, he stood in front of Li Yuanqing's courtyard again and looked at the tightly shut courtyard door nervously. After taking a deep breath, he slowly walked in. Even if he could not see Li Yuanqing, Qiu Muyun would often help Li Yuanqing clean the house and tidy up the small courtyard. Although it might not be that clean, he had done his best. However, the small courtyard today seemed to be a little different from usual. In the small courtyard, various flowers and trees grew lushly and bloomed. Many strings and bamboo competed with each other. It was an imposing and harmonious scene. Qiu Muyun was stunned on the spot the moment he stepped into the small courtyard. He thought that he had come to the wrong place. When did this place become like this? It wasn't like this when he came back last time. At this moment, a few people walked out of the house. Master, you should celebrate your victory. There's nothing you can't say. In my opinion, when Sister is ready to announce it to the entire city, we can let everyone be happy. We can't hide such a happy thing. Little man followed Li Yuanqing and chattered like a clingy little follower. During this period of time, in order to protect the safety of Ping City, the man-eating vine, little man, had been dutifully guarding this protective array. constantly preparing to guard Ping City. She did not go out to play with Li Yuanqing. The news had gradually spread throughout the city after Li Yuanqing had eliminated all the demon leaders, and the demons outside had already dispersed. They could not believe that the demon leaders had been killed, but the fact that the demons had fled in all directions could not be denied. Recently, there was a rumor in Ping City that the crisis had passed, and they had obtained a complete victory. The demons had taken the initiative to flee, so they had completely escaped danger. However, many people were still quite cautious and were not as happy as they were the first time. Qiu Muyun stared blankly at Li Yuanqing, who was walking out of the house. Why did he feel that his face had become younger after not seeing him for a while? Fellow Daoist Qiu, why are you back? I heard that you're doing well in the treasure pavilion and have already become a second-grade weapon refinement master. Qiu Muyun replied very politely, it's all thanks to fellow Daoist Li's nurturing. If you hadn't given me that intermediate weapon refinement technique back then, I'm afraid I wouldn't have my current achievements. Brother, you're too polite. It's still you who have a high comprehension ability. Otherwise, even if there was a sudden battle with that array formation, I'm afraid ordinary people would never be able to reach your achievements. Qiu Muyun lowered his head shyly after being praised by Li Yuanqing and took out the gift he had prepared. Brotherly, I'm not afraid of you laughing at me. I've been back a few times during this period of time, but I was unlucky every time I came back. Coincidentally, you weren't around, so I didn't have time to specially thank you. I'm quite lucky today to have bumped into you. Take this gift as a token of my appreciation. Don't mind it. Qiu Muyun took out an exquisite small wooden box and handed it to Li Yuanqing. What is this? Li Yuanqing looked at him curiously. Qiu Muyun scratched his head in embarrassment and said, it's a consumable Dharma artifact that I saw in the weapon refinement manual. I saw the introduction of it, and it was quite powerful, so I refined it. I wanted to try it out myself. Only then did Li Yuanqing open the box. It was as he had said. There was a small black ball lying quietly inside. This small ball was quite similar to the one Daminkong had taken out, but its quality was much worse. The bomb that Daminkong had taken out to fight to the death had already been put away by Li Yuanqing. Just by looking at it, the black ball gave off an extremely powerful feeling. Qiu Muyun's handmade product had many flaws, but it was a token of his appreciation. Li Yuanqing solemnly closed the small wooden box again. I'm already very happy that you have this thought. As Li Yuanqing spoke, he casually took out a book that he had copied. Written on it was Advanced Weapon Refinement Manual. Qiu Muyun was originally just looking curiously, but when he saw these words, his eyes widened. What? Brotherly, where did you get this from? He took the treasure with both hands in shock. His hands could not help but tremble. I've also studied this book carefully and realized that there are many things to learn. I believe it will be very helpful to you. Qiu Muyun widened his eyes and looked at Li Yuanqing. Brotherly, this is a divine book on weapon refinement that has been lost for many years. Qiu Muyun pushed the book back. How can I get such a precious book from you? I definitely can't take this book. Most of the things in this world could be measured in price. After Qiu Muyun stepped into this industry, he also did some research. He did not know much, but just casually understanding some relevant information made him tremble in fear. Back then, Li Yuanqing had casually handed him the Beginner Weapon Refinement Manual. Its market value was also priceless. If he went to a shop to ask, he would not be able to get this book without hundreds of thousands of spirit stones. From this, it could be seen how powerful this book was. However, Li Yuanqing had given it to him so casually. Therefore, Qiu Muyun had always felt guilty and grateful to Li Yuanqing because of this. Not only did Li Yuanqing accept him when he first arrived, but he also supported him. There was no need to mention about this Advanced Weapon Refinement Manual. Basically, anyone he visited who was good at refining weapons had only heard rumors about this. No one had seen this legendary divine book. All weapon refinement masters set their lifelong goal of being able to see its true appearance. However, even so, many people died with hatred and never had the chance to see it. However, Li Yuanqing took out the book just like that. He did not use any tricks, as if he was taking out pills that he had a lot of. He felt extremely guilty towards Li Yuanqing to begin with, and now he felt even more so. Li Yuanqing smiled at him and said, Brother Chiu, if you still treat me as a brother, keep this book. This book was written for future generations to see and learn. If everyone keeps such books for themselves, this knowledge will be buried in the vast world. Chiu Muyun was about to cry when he heard Li Yuanqing's words. Brotherly, you're kind-hearted and magnanimous. Your knowledge is not something I can compare to. Li Yuanqing forcefully stuffed the manual into his hand. I'll leave this book with you. Study it well. Don't bury it. That will be the greatest reward for me. Even though his subconscious told Chiu Muyun that this book was too precious and that he could not accept it, he could not control his hands. When he saw this ancient book that only existed in legends, he could not help but reach out to accept it. Thank you, brotherly. The man-eating vine at the side watched as the two of them dawdled. She curled her lips and teased, The two of you are so dawdling. You're even more dawdling than girls. Chiu Muyun smiled in embarrassment.
I'm sorry.
We're organizing a celebration party here. Do you want to join us? It's a joyous occasion as we had won such a huge victory. Only then did little man remember that she was still carrying a large bucket of wine in her arms. She hurriedly walked to the long table in the middle of the courtyard and placed it down. A celebration party? I wonder what it's for. Little man said casually, What else can we celebrate? Of course it's to celebrate the demons being chased away by us. What? You mean the demons have really retreated now? Even though there were accurate observations outside that could confirm that the demons had indeed retreated to a distant place, everyone in the city was not especially sure about this matter. They definitely could not be completely at ease. Of course, the four leaders are all dead now and have long run away without a trace. Little man looked at Li Yuanqing proudly. She did not say how the four leaders died. She still had to keep some secrets for her master. Chiu Muyun looked at little man in shock and grabbed her arm. Really? The leaders of the demons are really all dead? Little man frowned at him and said, What are you doing? You're hurting my arm. I'm sorry, I was indeed a little agitated just now. However, demons have surrounded the city. How did you confirm that the great lords are already dead? This matter sounded too unbelievable. Perhaps those lords were all alive and well, and had just changed their targets at the last minute. However, he could not help but think that it's true when he saw that little man was so convinced that those people were already dead. Little man blinked at him and said, Believe it or not, I don't know if this is true or not. It could be true or fake. However, at the same time, a strange news spread throughout Ping City. This news announced that the reason why the demons besieging outside had retreated was because their four lords had already died. It was unknown who spread the news, but the moment this news spread, the entire Ping City was in an uproar. They were all very shocked by such news. It was difficult to tell if this news was true or false. Are the four great lords really dead? How can it be? It's definitely just gossip. I wonder who's bragging. Haven't you heard of those four famous people? No one in this world can do anything to them with their combat strength. The humans in Ping City discussed spiritedly. They thought how good it would be if such news was true, but they vaguely wanted to tell themselves that it was very difficult for such a thing to happen. Why could it not happen? I'm afraid this news is most likely true. Otherwise, how could those demons suddenly disappear halfway with their temper? Don't you think this matter is very strange? Along with this news was the city lord manor's decree to open the city. Whether the four great lords died or not, the demons were no longer a threat to Ping City. Report, City Lord. C City has already cut off communication with us. In the meeting room of the City Lord Manor in Ping City, everyone who was still immersed in the joy of victory not long ago had very solemn expressions. It can't be true, can it? I don't think that's possible either. They discussed softly. Hujuju sat on the main seat with a solemn expression. She did not know what trouble they had encountered. General, is the news true? Mingluan, who was sitting beside his deputy, stood up. City Lord, according to the last news from Sea City, it seems that a demon has taken control of Sea City. Is Hai Chongping really gone? Ever since we communicated half a month ago, we haven't received any news from Hai Chongping. We have reason to believe that Hai Chongping should be dead now. I'm afraid he's doomed. Logically speaking, Ping City had just defeated the 7 incomparably powerful Great Lords. At this moment, their morale was unprecedentedly high. However, in the meeting room, everyone's expressions were very solemn, and they could not be happy no matter what. There was still the sound of gongs and drums celebrating outside. It had been 6 to 7 days since the demons were destroyed. Even though so much time had passed, Ping City was still filled with a celebratory atmosphere. The humans were celebrating their huge victory. Such a huge victory in the foreign war had built up their confidence. Although it seemed like they had done nothing and this victory was a little sudden, this was not important. What was important was that the demons had retreated and the humans had won. The legend of the human race had changed from the original Sword Immortal to a mature system about the Sword Immortal. They set off fireworks outside to publicize the reputation of the Sword Immortal. Juju sat down silently when she heard the lively shouts outside. City Lord, what should we do? If these devils are really released from the other side, it will be a huge threat to us. They were also discussing the matter of Sea City. Li Yuanqing's attitude towards them was very ambiguous. Although he looked like he was lowering his head on the surface, he was always playing tricks behind their backs. However, no matter what, although this fellow was wavering, as long as the humans won, he would still obediently submit to the humans. At that time, conditions would naturally be easy to negotiate. However, there was no news from Li Yuanqing since half a month ago. No matter how hard they tried, they could no longer contact him. The communication between the two sides had been cut off a few days ago. According to the last news from that side and the information from some of their people there, Sea City had been harmed. However, the person who did it was the devil they were discussing. In the world of catacombs, under the control of the powerful devil dragon, not only were there vast numbers of demons in the catacombs, but half of the population in the catacombs were of devils. The demons and humans could more or less find some similarities between each other, but there were no similarities between the demons, devils, and humans. Most people knew that these devils had escaped from hell. The demons and devils had originally split the world evenly and were at ease. The areas where they lived on both sides should be separated from each other. They had minded their own business for so many years. However, those devils had crossed the border and appeared in Sea City today. In the past, there were checks and balances between the demons and devils. The devils did not dare to run around and casually pass through the important ravine between the two. Now, the power of the demons in the catacombs had been greatly weakened. Those devils took advantage of such a heaven-sent opportunity to cross the border and took over Sea City. It turned out that the end of the river beside Sea City was the place where the two worlds intersected. Therefore, Sea City was immediately besieged. In my opinion, our seniors are so powerful that we can even defeat the 7 lords of the demon race. I'm afraid it's not a problem for us to deal with these devils who have escaped. There were naturally many humans who had never seen the world and spoke abnormally casually. Those older ones had heard a few stories of the devils. Your thoughts are too shallow. The strength of those devils are not something we can resist at all. If you take the initiative to attack, it will be no different from throwing an egg at a rock. Senior, you're wrong. When the demons attacked, we also thought that Ping City would definitely fall, and we wouldn't be able to defend this place. The young general walked to the front of the stage in high spirits. But in the end, we were naturally protected by the Sword Immortal to help us tide over the crisis. Well, everyone did not know how to refute this young general's words. The Sword Immortal's strength was unfathomable. Since the Sword Immortal could help them tide over this crisis, the matters in the future should be able to be resolved. However, the strength of the devils were unfathomable and could not be judged by common sense. Another person stood up and said, "The Sword Immortal is powerful, and this is a fact that we all recognize. However, the devils are unfathomable and scheming. Moreover, their methods are extremely hidden. Even someone as powerful as the Sword Immortal is probably not enough to make an enemy of them." The young general was very unconvinced. He laughed twice and said to the middle-aged man who stood up, "Senior, how can we boost the morale of others and dampen our prestige? We've just won such a huge victory, and everyone is still celebrating outside. Didn't you hear that? This is the will of the people. This is the burning emotions of everyone. I'm afraid it won't make sense to pour a bucket of cold water on us now. The young general's words made the person not know how to answer. He had directly placed him in such a situation. If he did not answer well, he would fall into an inhumane state. No one was willing to stand up and speak after being labeled as such. All of them remained silent, and the scene instantly fell silent. The young general thought that he had won, and his face was filled with pride. Hu Juju looked at him and asked, "Then what do you think we should do, General Sun?" This proud young general was the General Sun Hu Juju had mentioned. General Sun bowed slightly to Hu Juju. "City Lord, I thought that since we had just defeated hundreds of thousands of demons, we should chase after them. This time, we should boost our morale and attack Sea City in one go to eliminate the devils in Sea City." As soon as these words were spoken, many people present revealed excited expressions. It was obvious that they supported such a decision. There were also many people, like the two older generals just now, whose faces were filled with melancholy. They even gasped. Mingluan was shocked, but he pretended not to hear anything and looked at his hands. Hu Juju looked at Mingluan and asked, "Great General, what do you think? Do you have any objections about what to do next?" Mingluan looked up at the human generals behind him. In their group, the ratio of humans to demons was completely unbalanced. It could be said that after this victory, the proportion of humans had reached about 80%. Mingluan felt that his authority here was gradually weakening. Although the human race had split into two factions, they were still on the same side. They would not listen to the opinion of a demon. Just as Mingluan had thought, the two groups of humans looked at him with disdain. Mingluan was helpless, but Hu Juju's question had already been asked, so he could not refuse. Therefore, he tried to smooth things over and said, "I thought that the situation in Sea City is still unclear. If we act rashly, I'm afraid there will be many losses." After he finished speaking, the radical looked unhappy. Mingluan continued, "However, our morale is high now, and we have gotten a lot of materials from the various demon tribes. The strength of the entire guard team has increased greatly. It's not impossible to take this opportunity to take another step forward." He did not offend either side after saying this, but it was useless to say it. After the humans behind heard his words, they all laughed loudly, completely disregarding him, the great general. In the past, the human race would have treated Mingluan with a little more respect. After all, this was their great general. They had to give him some face. However, the human race had obtained such a huge victory this time. They gave all the credit to the invisible sword immortal. As a result, the credit completely belonged to the human race. Therefore, the status of the human race in Ping City had soared. They vaguely did not take these remaining demons seriously. Although Mingluan had contributed greatly to Hu Juju, in their minds, it was time for a change. "Great General, your words are really nice, but why do I feel that something is wrong? It seems like you didn't say it anything useful." General Sun looked at Mingluan teasingly. Mingluan was not angry. He only echoed, "I think Ping City has indeed obtained a huge victory. No matter what choice we make, I don't think we will lose much. There's no need to worry too much." General Sun immediately said, "Sigh. Although the great general's other words are useless, these words are still quite pertinent. We have a strong army now. No matter what, we definitely won't lose out too much. At least there's a possibility of withdrawing at that time. There's no need to be too cautious." Hu Juju also felt that it was difficult now. Her master had said that he wanted more humans to take over the control of the demons. In the future, Ping City would become stronger and stronger. They had to have more backbone. Now was the time to nurture them. Li Yuanqing had deliberately nurtured these people. Then was this a good opportunity? Hu Juju vaguely felt that something was wrong. After all, these new devils were probably very powerful. To be able to occupy the entire Sea City in such a short period of time, they could not be said to be a weak opponent. But could she attack? There didn't seem to be a problem. The two factions of the human race were fighting fiercely. They were all waiting for Hu Juju's answer. In my opinion, there should be an outcome. It's not a good idea to drag it out like this. The humans of both factions urged. "That's right, City Lord. The situation in Sea City is getting more and more serious. If we can't come up with a good decision, I'm afraid there will be long nights ahead." Under these two forces, Hu Juju was in a dilemma. However, since Li Yuanqing had already instructed her, she she should give these humans more chances. Since everyone thinks that we're in the limelight and can attack, we'll send a team as the vanguard to test the waters. Hu Juju finally relented. General Sun revealed a smug smile and hurriedly went forward to petition. Thank you, City Lord. I'll fulfill your wish. However, I wonder how many people you're willing to send this time to follow me? No matter what, I'm willing to go through fire and water. Hu Juju looked at Mingluan and asked, How much do you think is suitable, Great General? Mingluan didn't seem to hear it at first. He was stunned for a moment before replying, If it's a test in the early stages, I think 50,000 people are enough. All right, then send 50,000 people. Thank you, City Lord. The news of Ping City establishing an expeditionary army quickly spread, and many people eagerly signed up. With the transfer of a portion of the original city protection team and many volunteers, most of the people were gathered. For a moment, the entire Ping City was even more lively. Ever since the previous victory, the citizens of Ping City were very convinced by the various decisions of the City Lord and the others. Since they had the ability to defeat the powerful demon army, they could do things that they had never dared to think about before. In my opinion, now that the human race has completely stepped on the demons, we naturally have to do what the demons can't. Whether it was the market or the restaurants, everyone was discussing the news that the Ping City Expeditionary Army was about to set off. 2 of these 3 cities have been occupied by us. It's time for these demons to put down their airs and realize that the era has passed. Thinking back to their life of slavery by the demons, it seemed like it was not long ago. However, the situation had completely reversed. I didn't expect that not only did the demons lose to us, but even the devils couldn't resist us. What exactly is the devils? I've always heard you say that, but why haven't I seen it before? Where did it come from? Someone naturally raised questions. These devils are quite strong, but according to the Lord in the City Lord Manor, they were already greatly injured when they crossed the river. They're weak now. In other words, we chose this moment to attack and seize their weakness to gain the initiative. That's right. This is also why the City Lord is willing to order the Expeditionary Army to retake Sea City. There will be a lot of business in the future. In the small courtyard, an excited young man stood in the courtyard, his bright eyes flickering. This person was Li Yuanqing, who had been in seclusion for many days. Ever since he obtained the Advanced Weapon Refinement Manual, Li Yuanqing had not stopped studying about it for a moment. In addition, he had some free time now, so he began to refine one of the powerful weapons. It was the rumored powerful immortal binding rope. It was said that the powerful immortal binding rope could bind people stronger than him. Of course, he had to use it well to have such an effect. Immortal binding rope has a high requirement for its grading. As long as there were any flaws, it was very difficult to unleash its greatest effect. It could basically only be considered a semi-finished product. Therefore, ordinary weapon refinement masters did not have any methods to touch this thing. Li Yuanqing took out a golden rope. As soon as the rope was out, it twisted nimbly with Li Yuanqing's hand. As he waved it continuously, the rope twisted nimbly in midair. After twisting around, Li Yuanqing pointed at the tree beside him. The rope, which was wrapped around Li Yuanqing's hand, suddenly escaped and twisted towards the tree. After this immortal binding rope, which was originally less than a meter long in Li Yuanqing's hands, wrapped around the old tree tightly, it became dozens of meters long. Li Yuanqing raised a finger and slowly raised it. The old tree, which was more than half a meter thick, was vaguely pulled up by the rope. Li Yuanqing stopped while he was ahead and nodded in satisfaction. The rope also retracted with a whoosh and wrapped around Li Yuanqing's arm again. It disappeared with a gentle sway. Li Yuanqing was quite satisfied with the results of the past half a month. The power of this immortal binding rope was extraordinary. If he used it well, it would be very useful in the future. As soon as Li Yuanqing came out, Little Man could not wait to appear in the small courtyard. Congratulations, Master. Congratulations on coming out of seclusion. Get up. Little Man circled Li Yuanqing happily. In the past half a month, Li Yuanqing had been busy refining this immortal binding rope in his domain and stabilizing his cultivation. After half a month of seclusion, his 3rd grade formation arrangement realm cultivation had already stepped into the 4th grade formation arrangement realm. After feeling the majestic power emitted from Li Yuanqing's body, little man also revealed a happy expression. Master, you're really powerful. You've successfully broken through in the past half a month and passed such a huge hurdle. I'm afraid it's difficult to find an opponent in the world with your current strength. You sly little thing. Stop being so glib-tongued. Li Yuanqing patted little man's head gently. Take it. These are your rewards. The man-eating vine opened the small bag and saw a few golden pills inside. These pills were the vitality reinforcement pills that Li Yuanqing had obtained from signing in at a cave in the Dongming Mountain. Pure energy kept overflowing from it, causing little man's eyes to light up. Master, are these for me? Of course, you're at a bottleneck now. These pills can help you break through in one go. Don't disappoint me. The man-eating vine was already at the peak of the 7th grade spirit transformation realm and was about to step into the 8th grade. With the help of these pills, breaking through to the 8th grade was simply easy. Just using one pill was enough to break through. The man-eating vine carefully put away the pills and calculated when she would break through in seclusion. By the way, I've been busy cultivating recently and didn't care about the matters in the city. How is the city now? Did anything major happen? Li Yuanqing completely handed the decision-making power in Ping City to Hu Jujiu. Moreover, he had been in seclusion some time ago, so Hu Jujiu did not dare to disturb him. Therefore, Li Yuanqing knew nothing about the expedition team that had already set off a few days ago. Little man looked at Li Yuanqing and said carefully, Master, there's also some trouble on sister's side. The guard team of the City Lord Manor has gradually grown stronger. More and more humans have joined in. The entire guard team has become very large with hundreds of thousands of people. Li Yuanqing nodded slightly and said, It's not a bad thing. I'm afraid there will be even more trouble in the catacombs in the future. If we want to completely consolidate the status of the human race, we still have to have our own strength. It's just that. Just what? It's just that the generals of the human race only think that the Sword Immortal is the leader of the entire Ping City. Therefore, they secretly have some complaints about Sister and the great General Mingluan. Right now, Sister's management is not very smooth. These humans naturally knew about Hu Jujiu's contributions to the human race. Therefore, they only teased her accordingly and did not dare to do anything to Hu Jujiu. However, it was different for Mingluan. As Hu Jujiu's vassal, although Hu Jujiu was extremely grateful to Mingluan, the people below did not approve of the current demon general. Li Yuanqing nodded again. Little Ju wants to stabilize her rights. This is a very necessary lesson. Without experiencing some difficulties, she will definitely not be able to learn true skills. Little man laughed. That's what Sister said. Sister said that Master gave her such a mission to train her and make her more like a leader. Li Yuanqing laughed when he heard that. Hu Jujiu was really... Little man was happy and said, A few days ago, when the expedition team left, Sister personally went to send them off. It was a huge scene. What? An expedition? Little man stuck out her tongue and said softly, I forgot to tell you. Sea City has been attacked by many devils, and there's a lot of trouble there. There are many human generals in the city who feel that we humans are strong enough now. Therefore, they advocate sending troops to Sea City and seizing it from the devils. When did this happen? Why didn't you inform me? The news happened to come back from there when you were in seclusion. The situation was quite urgent. Moreover, you were at the critical moment of seclusion, so Sister didn't disturb you and made her own decision. Li Yuanqing frowned slightly. It was naturally a good thing that little Jo dared to make the decision herself, but this matter sounded a little strange. According to what he knew, the devils should be outside the barrier and not here. Why were they here? The devils were different from humans and demons. They were more like a group without any racial boundaries. They were powerful and violent by nature. They were not restricted by the morals and forces of the human world at all. Not only did they escape this time, but they also occupied Sea City. This was a huge matter. What happened in Sea City? Where is Hai Chongping now? Did they send any news back? Although Hai Chongping was an unreliable person and could more or less find some common language with him, the devils had nothing in common with the human race. Little man replied honestly, I heard from Sister that the devils escaped from the other side of the river. They must have sensed that the demons here had been greatly weakened, So they came and burned, killed, and plundered Sea City. The people in Sea City were completely unable to resist and quickly fell. I heard that their city lord, Li Yuanqing, was also captured by the devils early on and was cruelly killed. They even cut off his head and hung it on the city gate. When Little Man mentioned this, her face was filled with disgust. This is only the news from before. Our expeditionary army has just arrived at Sea City and has yet to completely enter, so our understanding of the situation there is not completely accurate. Li Yuanqing asked, how many people did they bring? Who is leading them? It's General Sunday. He brought 50,000 people. Li Yuanqing thought that things are going to go wrong. Even the millions of demons in Sea City could not resist the devils. If General Sun brought 50,000 people over, even if they were not the main attack force, they would be discovered by the devils and would not even have the chance to escape. They actually dared to do such a dangerous thing. They were really too bold. Come with me. As he spoke, their figures flashed in the small courtyard. The two people who were chatting disappeared. On the high platform in the center of the most prosperous market in Ping City. As an important guest today, Hu Juju was speaking to the citizens below on the platform. I'm very happy that everyone can come here today. Cheers sounded from the audience. Everyone looked at the city lord standing on the stage with admiration. Hu Juju continued, Ping City is becoming more and more prosperous, and the trade in Ping City has become more frequent. The original few trading places are no longer enough. Laughter erupted below. The trade in Ping City could be said to be extremely rich now, and the market was far more prosperous than before. Under the current situation, everyone's emotions were very high. After obtaining such a large-scale victory, the entire Ping City was filled with high-pitched joy. Not only that, but this place also represents the first large-scale victory for us humans against the demons. Its memorial is even more extraordinary.
Humans.
All hail the human race. The citizens below kept shouting. They were extremely proud of such a victory. However, at this moment, the smile on Hu Juju's face suddenly froze. It was as if she had heard some news. Hu Juju suddenly looked at the citizens below apologetically. I'm really sorry, everyone. I have some special matters to deal with. I'm afraid I'll have to leave this to the great general. In a small attic not far from the market, Li Yuanqing stood in the corner of the corridor and looked at Hu Juju from afar. After saying goodbye to the people, Hu Juju disappeared in a flash. After a while, Hu Juju appeared beside Li Yuanqing again. Master! Hu Juju's face was filled with smiles as she looked down at the ground. However, Li Yuanqing's expression was very ugly. What happened? Why did you agree to let them take the risk to Sea City? Only then did Hu Juju realize that Li Yuanqing had come here for this matter. She immediately put away the smile on her face and became serious. Master, we had to make a choice at that time. The situation in Sea City is critical. We have to send a team over to investigate the situation first. At the very least, we have to understand the situation there before we can make a decision. Then we can send a team of sentries with thousands of people to investigate. Why did we send so many people at once? A hesitant expression flashed across Hu Juju's face before she replied, Master, I feel that in the situation at that time, we had just obtained such a huge victory. There's no need to be too cautious. In addition, the people below have the intention to show off, so I think this opportunity can increase morale. Is that true? Hu Juju nodded heavily and said, That's right, Master. This is my decision alone. If you want to punish me, punish me. Nonsense. Little Man hurriedly stepped forward and said, Master, you can't blame Sister completely. You said that she had raised the humans so that they could stand on their own, so Sister did this. The human generals below kept pressing forward, leaving Sister no choice. Is that it? Hu Juju glared at Little Man, but Little Man stubbornly raised her head and said to Li Yuanqing, Yes, it's like this. It has nothing to do with Sister. Li Yuanqing frowned at the crowd outside. He had only casually instructed her back then. He did not expect Hu Juju to accommodate the human generals below because of this. Do you know how risky it is for them to go like this? Don't do this again. Hu Juju lowered her head and nodded dejectedly. Master, I understand. I will definitely take this as a warning. It's just that everyone has already gone out. I wonder what Master has planned. Should we call everyone back? How long have they been gone? It's been 7 or 8 days. According to their schedule, they should be close to Sea City. It's indeed too late. They're probably already at the periphery of Sea City. They've already been discovered by the devils. It's too late to call them back. Then what should we do now, Master? Stay here and guard the city. I'll make a trip. But Master, you've just fought against the 4 great lords and your body hasn't recovered. Now, Li Yuanqing instructed in an unquestionable tone, guard here well. Don't let the demons or those devils take the opportunity to enter. Li Yuanqing also wanted to meet those devils too. He had heard that the devil world at the end of the river was very mysterious. This was an opportunity.